Shop brews from your favorite brands for easy energizing. While supplies last, shop in-store or online.
Mesh Spence gets Minnesotans. Because as one of our state's oldest law firms, we've been fighting for our fellow Minnesotans for over 60 years. We know the ins and outs of Minnesota's legal system, and to never call it a casserole. We know how to get Minnesotans full and fair settlements, and that any food can be put on a stick. Mostly, we know how Minnesotans deserve to be treated. If you've been hurt in an accident, call Mesh Spence. Minnesota Personal Injury Lawyers, Minnesotans trust.
Hopkins to Houston guy tweets, I lived in Minnesota for 24 years, been in Houston the last 5. Driving in Minnesota is so bad, I actually dread going back when I have to fend for myself.
Wow. We like it here, Hopkins to Houston guy.
Well, he seems to be enjoying himself.
Gun belt tight.
A little sensitive, aren't you?
Yeah, well.
You're never going to leave, are you?
Where am I going?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you probably have opportunity or two.
I don't think I have anywhere to go.
Oh.
No, we're good.
It is much brighter, sunnier, beautiful now afternoon after a very rainy start to our show. And earlier at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, day 1. And that means Monty Creason's Traveling Reptile show did not have to be moved. Historically, they always join us on that first Thursday. Sometimes they even come back. And Monty can't be here, I don't think.
Oh, I hear him yelling at me.
I bet you probably do. But that's the voice of Two Dogs. How about a round of applause for Two Dogs from Monty Creason's Traveling Reptile show? He is now the keeper of the faith, the keeper of the animal empire, the animal kingdom that Monty presided over for decade upon decade. And is it fair to say, Guardsy, Two Dogs does not ever age? I mean, no. You don't age at all.
No, he's
unbelievable.
That's because I learned from Monty. I have somebody else do all my work.
That's very smart.
He looks the same.
Very, very true.
But a little callback to the last segment.
Yeah.
You said you've missed your exit because you're afraid to move over out of guilt.
Right.
Even though you're an implant and you'll never be one of us.
No, I know that.
You can't be. You have to be from here like Guardsy. And I'm from across the river, so I'm just by association. I think that's a trait of a true Minnesotan. Like, everyone's like, well, that was my exit, but if I moved over, I'd have been in his way, and I kind of...
That is, you're right.
Yeah. There'd only been 30 yards between me and that car behind me.
It's creeping in a little. You're right.
10 miles to the next exit, and then I won't have to feel bad about it.
I'll have to work on that. You're right.
I
don't
like
want to
you're
go
one step closer. You can check that box.
But still not enough.
We've broken you.
We know it's never going to be enough. That's for sure.
You've conformed to us, but you will never be one of us.
No, it's a very different deal.
You're one step closer to the goal you'll never achieve.
So let's get it out of the way first. How was the Wisconsin State Fair this year?
I heard it was awesome, but we're still not.
Oh, that's right. You're still not doing it. Okay. Is this like an official boycott? Is there some sort of political statement you're making here, or you just don't want to be a part of it?
Yeah, I'd like to get straight into politics. So if we could just get rid of half of the crowd right away.
And you and Monty was occasionally when
Monty
he
had
went
that
down political
great
roads
gift of being able to say whatever was on his mind, even if it was 180 degrees of what he just said 10 seconds ago, and still have complete faith in everything he said. And by the end, you're like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It didn't make sense, but he said it with such conviction. You're just kind of like,
you bought it.
I'm going to follow him.
He sold it well. Monty always sold it well. By the way, speaking of selling, if people want to watch today, how do they do it, Guards?
KFAN.com/watch. KFAN.com/watch.
And where's Halvey?
Halvey's right here. There. He's pumping himself up because Zach really puts his life on the line here. He's not a big lizard, snake, alligator, turtle kind of guy.
But let's recap. The snake bite he got last year did not turn out to be that serious.
There was no venom.
I don't think so.
It was not venomous.
Yeah, they had they gave him the shot.
Yeah.
The antidote. You were fine.
And you're
here.
Shake it off.
You're
still here. He was over at the joint all this morning like, hey, what time are you going to be here? What time are you going to be here?
No,
there it is.
He does
Can
not
I help
do
you
well.
get stuff here? How much stuff are you going to bring? Let's bring more.
So to take like the really good, close-up shots, Halvey's got an iPhone that he basically runs right up to Two Dogs, but that means he's got to get close to a snake or two. If you want to see some athleticism, it's him bouncing out of the way when he feels like something's a little bit too close.
Very, very true, Dave.
He is a true professional. He will put himself in uncomfortable positions just for the radio station.
Yeah, nothing is bigger than the bit. That's what we all live by at the Fan.
I hope he means it. I hope he'll stick to it.
He's ready.
Look, he doesn't look convicted right now.
He's nervous.
He is a little nervous.
He's very nervous.
Nervous smile on his face. Yeah. All right, Two Dogs, where do you want to start here? Or what do you want to say? You can get the bit going, remind people where they can find you, all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, we'll work that in because we're right across from the DNR fish ponds. Have you guys ever heard of the DNR fish ponds here at the fair? They're absolutely amazing. But once you check out all those free fish, then you come over to our place and you check it out. You can see over 40 live reptiles. Hank counted this year. We have 41, so we're actually not lying. Other years we might be fibbing a little, but this year we're actually telling the truth. And I got to admit something, Dan.
Yes, sir.
You know, we did our best to fight inflation for years. So I've been doing this over 20 years. We've raised our prices twice. So when I started with Monty, it was $1 for kids, $1.50 for up to 18, and then $2. I'm like, Monty, I can't do that much math. Everybody's $2. And everybody around is like, why are you just going to $2? You're worth more than that. Like, well, $2 it is. Well, then about 15 years ago, we got really ambitious and we raised it to $3. And all our friends then, even customers, are like, you're not charging enough. You're worth more than that. Well, we finally had to get with the times, and we went up to $5.
I saw that.
So we're slowly giving into this whole thing called inflation and everything. But we realized something. Finally, people made us understand you're worth it. You're worth more than $5.
It's true.
Like you go down the giant slide, what is that, $4, Hank? Giant slide's amazing. It's awesome. That is a great racket, but it's a lot of fun. But it's 10 seconds of fun. Another $4 and go again. They'll get you. It's worth it. It's on the map. That's how good it is.
So they don't throw in a second slide for free.
No. But you get to climb the steps for free, but coming down is going to cost you. And if you want the gunny sack, they might charge extra. I'm not sure. But the price of all you can drink milk has gone up. But we're still only $5.
That's very reasonable.
You know, it's like, I hate to do that. I don't like going up in price. So this is everybody's warning. Get in there before I raise the prices again in 15 to 20 years. So just hurry up.
And by the way, then you can stay as long as you want once you're there. That's the other thing. It doesn't end in 30 seconds.
No, and we rarely kick you out.
That's true.
And the other thing, you guys go through, especially, and it's a lot of fun, Dan. You'll see these families come through, and the kids just love it. They're having a great time. And you kind of grab the mom or dad off the side like, hey, look, you guys are paid for the whole day. You guys come back. We're not going to charge you again. It's the same stuff. Check it out again because the kids are having a great time. We don't like to say it too loud and have the kids like, hey, yeah, go back.
Come back as many times as you want, right?
So we try to be kind of respectful of the kids. But anyway, so what we're starting off here with, we're good segment or segue. Yeah, proper
segue,
words.
yeah.
Words matter, right?
Occasionally.
Yep. So we have an African sulcata tortoise here. When you guys walk in, first thing on the front table, you'll see either one of our iguanas or tortoises out front. That's our gaff. We're trying to get your attention, get you to stop. Then hopefully you give us a little bit of your money. Come on in, check it all out. We're very honest about our tactics. Yeah, we do want your money because, well, it costs money to feed all these guys, and we kind of like to feed them. They get a little cranky or die if we don't feed them, so come help us feed them. But anyway, you come inside, you'll see a big African sulcata. So this little guy here, cute as can be, he grows up. He'll get 110, 120 pounds. Big ones will get close to 200 pounds. Hank here is going to pull out a big version of that. But it's funny because a lot of times we'll have moms and dads come through and they're like, and the kid will be real excited, like, I want a snake. And mom will be like, nah, we don't want to do the snake. We want to do something different. Like,
sure.
How about a tortoise? They're
Holy moly.
Well, the tortoise is great, except it eats nonstop. And the things that eat nonstop, well, they go to the bathroom nonstop. So they are constant work. It's not hard work,
right? Yeah,
but it's all the time. You
nagging,
always have to be picking up after
work,
them.
Yeah.
So you can see that guy there, the big one, that's 17 years old.
That's what I was going to ask you. So that's how long it takes.
Yep. So it doesn't take very long. This one we figure is 7.
Okay.
We're not real sure. It's a rescue like a lot of our animals.
Right.
So when you ask us how old it is, we'll be honest. We're lying. We're guessing.
Yeah.
But we'll say it with confidence so you'll believe us.
It's all about the conviction.
And I'm going to give this little guy to Hank here so he can kind of do a quick walk around. You guys can all pet him on top of the shell. Even the big guy out front, pet him on top of the shell. Don't poke him in the face because as Monty always used to say, and I feel this really gets the point across, I don't stick my finger up your nose when I first meet you and ask how you're doing.
Right.
No,
doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes perfect sense
Monty,
at the same time.
He had a way with words in that regard. There's no question.
There was definitely an influence from his ranger training.
Yes.
You could definitely tell, spilled over into his personality.
So he's munching on the grass right now, it looks like, no?
Absolutely. He's loving this, especially now that the clouds have all broke.
Right.
We have beautiful sunshine. and it's not hot.
No, this is
wonderful.
If we could bottle this the entire fair, I'm sure you'd be delighted, and we would for sure.
I'll take 11 more days of this. That's just
absolutely outstanding. How much does the big one weigh now? The mature one, this 17.
Oh, he's just a little over 100 pounds.
100 pounds, okay.
And he's still got a lot of growing left to do.
He does.
Yep,
Really?
I've seen these guys twice this size.
Is that right?
So a good friend of Monty's, he'd gone to Africa, I think 28 different times. And he was telling us, like, oh, yeah, you'll be sitting there and you'll be looking at the side of the mountain or the hillside and just like, there's rocks moving. And you get your binoculars up. Here it's these big tortoises in Africa. They're just working their way across, just eating. And you could see on their front legs, their scales are just, they're overgrown. They're very exaggerated. Because if you think of the other things in Africa, there's a lot of stuff that would love to eat you. Lions, hyenas. So these guys, they're not going to run away from their predators.
No.
Highly unlikely they're going to climb a tree. So they just tuck in. Those front legs protect his head, and those big scales keep, anything from bothering him. Basically, they just wait out till that lion gets bored, and then the lion goes on his way, and he continues.
So the average predator just gives up on. Are there any predators that, for whatever reason, decide to try to munch on the shell?
I mean, they can, but they're so armor plated.
Right.
I mean, obviously, when they're little, they start out, from like a ping pong ball size egg.
Right.
Obviously, they're much more vulnerable then. Birds and a lot of stuff. But as they get size, especially a guy like this, I mean, there's not much that's going to mess with him. He's just extremely well protected. He's got it made.
So the key is he'll just he protects his head, retreats into the shell, and waits for whoever is after him to get bored.
Yep. Just patience. And the front legs are on their backwards, basically. So when that's
what it looks like, yeah.
So when that head tucks in, the elbows come across, and that makes that armor plating for them.
That's it, huh?
And they're so big and strong, there's really nothing that's going to grab them and flip them. Now, granted, the lion could flip him over.
Right. I just saw.
And if he gets on his back, that's probably game over for him. But
yeah, then it's not. Yeah, that's not good. So what do they eat generally?
So they're like cows. They graze nonstop.
Okay.
Much harder to milk these guys. We haven't figured out that yet.
All right.
But they're just constantly grazing. So greens, anything like that. Now, if they find fruit, absolutely love that. That's like candy to us. But if we give them too much fruit, that's like your kid on Halloween when you tell them, like, now don't eat too much that you get sick. They're not going to listen, but you tell them anyway. Then, an hour later, they're like, oh, I don't feel good. If we give them a whole bunch of apples, bananas, it'll make them real sick, and we can even kill them. So fruit is like dessert for them. We just give them a little bit, but a lot of leafy greens like kale, collard greens, romaine, stuff like that. Now, out in the pen when they're outside in the summertime, absolutely they'll eat grass, but they go for a lot of the leaves and thistles and broadleaves first. So our pens where the tortoises are, we have to keep rotating them around because you'll have just perfect. It'll just be grass left because they'll just eat all the weeds first.
So do turtles ever fight other turtles?
Tortoises do.
Tortoises, I should say. Yeah.
Now, the only reason we'll get on you about this is because it's one of the few things I know, so I have to pretend like, turtles and tortoises.
Yes.
Let's be honest, for most people, it's not that important for you to know the difference.
You're in the business, though.
I am in the business, so I need to prove that I know
exactly.
something.
No, you got to.
Tortoises are land animals. So for me, I got that screwed up head that will never remember the difference between two things. You have a 50-50 shot, doesn't matter. You're not getting it. Tortoise is a land animal. I have to think about the old story about the tortoise and the hare. Mm-hmm. That race takes place on land. Okay, a tortoise is a land animal.
That's a good reminder.
And like when we do our school talks, thing we always say, if I take my tortoise here and I go over to the fish pond and I throw him in to go for a swim, that's like taking my pet rock for a swim. Just klunk, right to the bottom. No good. Now, he'll go into water puddles and soak, especially because around their neck, they'll get like ticks and other bugs.
Right.
So they'll go in there and basically drown all them things to get them off there. But turtles, like we have here in Minnesota, they're going to have webbed feet like a duck or a goose, and they got that long tail for going through the water. And in Minnesota, it's pretty easy. We only have turtles. So unless one of mine got out, in which case, please give me a call. I'd like to have it back. We did have one kid ask today, he's like, have you ever had one get out? Yep, absolutely. Here? No, not here, but at home, absolutely. I mean, I've had an 18-foot bright yellow albino python get out, and I know he's in my snake room, and this is when we still had Albert, the big alligator.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, Albert didn't get him. There's no mess. Like,
well, no evidence, huh?
He's in my snake room. It's bright yellow. I feel like I should be able to find this. And usually you know when one's out because everything that you've stacked nicely on shelves, they decide like all that stuff should be on the ground. So I kind of think cats have descended from snakes because they just knock everything off. I have zero proof other than that theory. But he'd crawled behind over some speakers because, of course, with Monty, we had to have tunes. You know, and we had the big, bookcase speakers, the big
Back
ones.
in the day, yeah.
Yeah, 6 speakers for one room.
You got to have the enormous woofers, right?
Yeah. We had them. Why wouldn't you hook them up?
Right.
Talk radio sounds way better the more speakers you have.
That's true. That's what they say.
So he'd crawled over the speakers, and the whole system didn't knock any of that over. And there's just one little crack between 2 of the big speakers. As I walk by, I stop, do like the step back, turn. There's bright yellow in there. There's our 18-foot snake curled up. And it's like,
oh, my God.
Well, I found him. There's no way for me to pull him out without him just knocking everything over. So it's like, well, I'm going to be out here all day. I'm just going to let you be till you crawl out on your own, and then we'll put you back in. And one little trick we've actually figured out, like, because, well, with Monty, everything had to be squared away and done. So if you had an empty cage, of course, it's closed up. Well, now we've learned, like, you have an empty cage, leave it open. Because if you have something get out, 9 times out of 10, it'll find that empty cage, and that's where it'll be.
Really?
And I found this out because I had a cage on just right above floor level, and I'm crawling on my hands and knees looking under the cage like, well, he's probably under there. And then I look up, and just about 6 inches away from my face is the snake. I'm like, oh, there he is, right on the other side of that open piece of glass. Like, yep, he definitely could have tagged me. It had no excuse whatsoever, but it's like, so now Hank and I are like, oh, that's empty. Leave that open. That might come in handy later.
What is like? How long will this little guy live?
These big tortoises around 60 years or so.
60?
Yep.
Good run.
So this is your largest mainland tortoise. So your Galapagos are your largest tortoises in the world. Then your Aldabras, and they're both island tortoises. And then when you come over to the mainland, then you have these guys.
Halvey, you okay so far? A tortoise, I would think, isn't threatening you all that much, right?
Got a thumbs up from Halvey.
Thumbs up from Halvey, at least.
Well, we wanted to be nice, and we're just going to work.
You ease into stuff, yeah. That probably makes sense.
But he hasn't seen what Hank pulled out that's right behind. No, I'm just
all right,
Monty'd be real mad if we tried to scare you. He was not into that. If somebody tried to scare you while you're inside our joint, it was pretty much all he could do not to just grab him by the scruff of the neck and take him out and be like, we don't let that fly here.
Well, knowing Monty, he probably did grab him by the scruff of the neck on occasion, right?
Times were different back then.
Yes, exactly. You can get away with it. That's true.
One good story with Monty, this was years ago. We didn't have the permanent setup we have now, but we still had our trailer. And in the trailer, you could open up the back to get to Albert, the big alligator. And the Minnesota Gopher, their offensive line, you'll see them walking around the different sports teams. They came in. And Monty got talking football with them, and he opened up Albert. And, of course, Albert came right up to the edge. And those 300-pound guys, they just all stepped back. And Monty just very politely read them the riot act. Like, what is he going to do to you? Like, you're 350 pounds, and you guys are scared of this little alligator? Get up here. So every one of them had to go up there and pet Albert before they're allowed to
Shamed
leave.
him, huh? Yeah.
Coach Monty.
Absolutely.
Not surprising at all.
You're not leaving here scared. You're going to get up here and you're going to do it.
All right, what's next on the equation, on the extravaganza?
Well, we'll actually get out Monty's favorite snake of all time.
Oh, snake. Now Halvey's fidgeting. Oh, boy.
You want a good picture here?
Oh, no.
You keep moving back. So this is our bull snake. This is what we have right here in Minnesota. This is the largest snake we have around here. But it's also an amazing snake to have around because if you have snakes where you live, it's not just because you have this amazing property. You have snake food. And in the case of the bull snake, you have mice and rats. And these guys, they basically have one job. Eat mice and rats.
Nice.
I don't know if any of you guys have realized this, but sometimes in Minnesota we have what we call a very short summer. So these guys eat as much as they can. And if you look how a snake is designed, it's perfectly designed to go after mice and rats. There's no arms or legs to get in the way. There's no eyelids, so wherever they're going around, they never get anything in their eyes. They don't even have ears, so the snake is very lucky. He doesn't have to listen to anything I have to say. Now, you guys can see how this snake just wrapped around the arm. And you'll see a lot of times, especially when we're doing schools, the kids are like, oh, he's trying to eat you. He's trying to constrict your arm. Like, no. He's 2 inches tall, and I have him 4 or 5 feet up in the air, and I'm swinging him around. He doesn't want to fall. He's using me like a tree branch. So he's just hanging on. And a bull snake is really cool because it's a really tough snake. So we have rattlesnakes here in Minnesota, and a rattlesnake is a very fragile snake. That's why they have venom. These guys, they're real tough. They'll just grab their food, and they're going to start swallowing. They might wrap around it and kill it, but they're probably just going to start swallowing so they can get the next one as soon as possible.
So are they too fast for the mice? I mean, how do they catch them?
Yep, so they're ambush hunters. But the other thing, with this tongue and the way they're designed, they're going to find out right where those rodents live and squeeze right in there. Okay. And if they can block that entrance,
that's it.
They're just going to wipe out that entire colony.
It's a feast. It's a Thanksgiving feast for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And their stomach is like, the balloons that clowns use for making the balloon animals. Right now, it's all shrunk down, but it can stretch way out. And each one of their ribs, like if you guys feel in the center of your ribs here, we have what we call your sternum. Real good for us. Our ribs come off our spine. They come together. Protects a lot of important stuff in your chest there. But if you're a snake, you don't have that. All your ribs just come off your spine and they're not connected, which means when you eat way too much food, your ribs can stretch way out. It also means when you find where all your food is, your ribs can squeeze together and you can get into that tiny little spot where the mice and rats live. Now, the funny thing, they'll eat so much, they no longer fit out the door where they squeezed in, which is just fine for them because after they eat that much, just like after Thanksgiving feast, you don't really feel like doing a whole lot. So they're just going to sit there, hang out for a few days, let that meal digest, leave a little fertilizer behind, and then they're out the door looking for more rodents.
How old is this one?
This one we're going to say is 8. Yeah.
In that range?
That's the number we're making up.
You're making that up, and they can
right
go,
on the spot, yes.
They can live to be 100?
They just never die. You can't even kill them.
Just can't get rid of them?
These guys, 15 to 20 is pretty average, but you can definitely get them past that, too.
And so. What are they – so it's basically – what do you feed them?
We're feeding them – like a guy like this, we're feeding them rats.
Rats?
Yep. So maybe one –
Where do you get rats?
We raise them.
You raise the rats?
Yep. We raise our rats, and then the rabbits we get for our big snakes, those come from a couple – one down in Cresco, Iowa, one in Austin, Minnesota. They raise show rabbits, and then they'll keep their cull rabbits. They'll put them in the freezer for us. And then I'm extremely lucky because my brother has a plane. So rather than having to take the time to go down there and pick them up, call him up, we fly down, we pick them up. But we usually do something like, hey, let's go up to Ely, visit my buddy. We'll have breakfast there, and then we'll fly to Cresco, pick up rabbits, and then fly home. So it doesn't save me any time, but it turns out it's just a lot more fun to fly than to drive down there and back.
Do you grow attached to the rats emotionally?
So no.
so like you're going to try for a minute, and I can't.
When you first start, you'll have some, and you'll always have some that are biters, and those you have no problem getting rid of. The other ones, like when you're culling rats, like, well, I can't really blame you. You're fighting for your life. I get that.
No, you can't blame them.
Yeah,
right.
I give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's nice of you.
It's like, yeah, I feel bad, but the only reason you're alive was because we needed you for food.
That's honest. Might as well be honest with them.
Yeah.
Let's get a break. You have one more item, I assume?
Yep, we got one more.
One more big one. All right, let's do this. Let's make this the top of the hour pause. Two Dogs is here. Monty Creason's Traveling Reptile Show, a Thursday staple, first week of the fair, first day at the fair, on what has now turned out to be a very nice afternoon. We will continue. Don't forget, Kessler will join us during the 5 o'clock hour as well. Stay tuned.
Barreiro, live from the State Fair on the Fan. KFAN, Total Traffic.
From the Quick Trip Traffic Center, I'm Deb Snyder. Here's a look at the roads. Pretty solid traffic running west on 94, about from Franklin to the Lowry Tunnel. You're also packed eastbound into the tunnel from Plymouth Avenue with some slowing around Riverside to Cretin. And then heavy 494, 694 to Woodbury Drive. Crash on West 694 up at McKnight is blocking a left lane with delays.
Meshbesher & Spence gets Minnesotans. Because as one of our state's oldest law firms, we've been fighting for our fellow Minnesotans for over 60 years. We know the ins and outs of Minnesota's legal system, and to never call it a casserole. We know how to get Minnesotans full and fair settlements, and that any food can be put on a stick. Mostly, we know how Minnesotans deserve to be treated. If you've been hurt in an accident, call Meshbesher & Spence. Minnesota Personal Injury Lawyers, Minnesotans trust.
Barnhouse Exteriors. They always use the best products at a great price, like GAF shingles, backed with a 50-year warranty. And Barnhouse is a Master Elite GAF contractor. And right now, Barnhouse has great financing options for roofing, siding, and windows as low as $100 a month. Get a free no-obligation consultation by calling or going online to barnhouseexteriors.com. That's barnhouseexteriors.com.
You want to grow your business, but how much? And is your operation ready for it? You want to break into a new market, but how? And when? Work with a banker who understands where you want to go with your business and how to help you get there. Work with Bremer Bank, because understanding is everything. Put us to work for you today at bremer.com.
By the Yard's annual State Fair sale is here. Shop today and enjoy savings on By the Yard's beautiful maintenance-free outdoor furniture. By the Yard's outdoor furniture is made in Minnesota and backed by a 35-year warranty with over 400 different style and color combinations and 3 easy ways to shop and save. Visit By the Yard at the State Fair next to the 4-H building. Shop By the Yard's showrooms in Jordan, Woodbury, and Maple Grove, or shop online at bytheyard.net. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
At HomeWorks, making your home work means that we have the right plumbing solutions for you. Right now, get $57 off any plumbing repair. Visit callhomeworks.com to learn more.
For more than 25 years, I've trusted Continental Diamond for its exceptional selection of engagement rings, diamonds, jewelry, and timepieces, all offered at the very best prices. Whether you're proposing, searching for the perfect gift, or aiming to enhance your style with a luxury timepiece, Continental Diamond is the place to go. Voted best jeweler for a 15th consecutive year. Well done. Visit them in St. Louis Park or online. It is continentaldiamond.com.
Life's busy, and off is not an option. You need to be on the water, on the call, on the road. Life's waiting. Power on with Batteries Plus. Visit one of over 700 locations today.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain, and I'm not talking about just drugs or surgery. Hey, it's Corey Coe from the Power Trip Morning Show for QC Kinetics. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic joint pain from arthritis or injury, you got to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. So learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you that long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your aching joints. Call now for a free consultation. 612-254-7123. 612-254-7123. That's 612-254-7123.
Discover stunning anniversary jewelry that speaks volumes. Your moment is now at Arthur's Jewelers in Roseville.
From the Your Boat Club Weather Center.
This report is sponsored by Luther Brookdale Mazda.
Fan forecast.
Now that the rain is cleared, the clouds are clear, it's getting hotter right now, 71.
Where do you get 0% financing for up to 63 months on all new 2024 Mazdas, up to $3,000 State Fair bonus cash, free oil changes, gas and car wash discounts. Find out at Luther Brookdale Mazda, luthermazda.com. See dealer for details. The only thing we overlook is $694. From the 651 Carpets Plus, home of the Next Day Install Studios, this is FM 100.3 KFXN, Minneapolis, St. Paul, The Fan.
Legendary comedian and actor Kevin Hart is set to return to Minnesota, see his hilarious Acting My Age tour when it comes to the Armory Friday, February 21st and Saturday the 22nd. Tickets for both shows on sale now. Full details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Fan Stands presented by Mesh, Besher, and Spence. No canopy. I'm sorry. Somebody just asked about that. I don't even ask about it any longer. So, but today, because the temperature is pleasant, really by this time of day, there's a lot of shade anyway, except for one portion. We are back where Kessler will join us a little later in the 5 o'clock hour of the show. Two Dogs is with us now, Monty Creason's traveling reptile show, and he's coming back with the big item on this year's tour, or this year's visit to us, Two Dogs, what do we got?
All right, Zach, if you could come up here, please. You got your camera and everything. Now, nobody knows what's in here, so we want Zach on this side.
Come on, Zach. Get closer. It's a problem.
Right on this side so this camera can get you. All right, we'll bring it to you.
We've got good insurance. It's not a problem. Oh, they're bringing it right on top of them. I love it.
I want you looking at the camera.
Let's see. It's the big mama.
Well, we didn't have to beep anything, so good job, Zach.
That's very true. This is...
Zach, you need to get closer.
Look at that. Well, you hear from the crowd reaction that this is a slightly larger snake than the last one you just got out, Two Dogs.
So this is Chubbs.
Chubbs?
Yep. Not sure how we come up with these names, but
it seems to fit.
It's
actually.
just a gift. Is all I can say.
That's all. Yeah.
So Chubbs is a albino Burmese python. So the Burmese python, they're the ones that they're having problems with down in Florida. Supposedly they're all over, but yet they have troubles finding them. Now, the albino is not something that you would normally find in nature. You think of a dark green jungle, typically you're not grabbing the yellow crayons. Maybe you guys are on colored pencils. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. But when I color, I'm with crayons. So this bright yellow and a dark green jungle. So when they're hatched out of an egg, it's going to be an egg about the size of your fist. When they're born, they're about the size of your thumb, 12 to 18 inches long, somewhere in there. Bright yellow and a dark green jungle, that is your original McDonald's sign. That is not going to survive. They'd have no camouflage.
No chance, yeah.
Now, obviously, in captivity, we can kind of make sure that no tigers eat him for the most part, so they have a chance to grow up and get big. This guy here is probably just knocking on the door of 17 feet, so it's not what we call a huge snake by any means. Our biggest one is right around 20 feet long, but it's right around 200 pounds, so it's a pretty good-sized snake. And a lot of people, like as they see these big snakes, like, what do you have to feed that? Well, the short answer is nothing. If we didn't want to feed this thing for a year till the fair next year, Chubbs would be just fine.
Probably wouldn't be nicknamed Chubbs anymore, but,
It's already earned it.
All right, gotcha.
It's going to stick. But the great thing about being a reptile, you're cold-blooded, you're extremely energy efficient. So you do not need a lot of food. That's one of their keys to survival. A snake is going to spend, 90% of its life just curled up hiding, where it's nice and safe. If it's on the move, it's for food, temperature, or security. It's not just out cruising around because it's having a good time. There is a very valid reason why it's on the move. So a big guy like this, and if he's not looking for girls or it's not food, he's probably not going anywhere. It's got to be a strong motivation. So if you don't feed him, he's just fine. Our male anaconda, once he found out, got old enough to realize, hey, there's girls in the world, he went over a year without eating. And he was only 8 feet long. He wasn't a very big snake by any means. And it is a total mind trip to just I'd feel a lot better if you ate, even though I know you're fine. But I can read a calendar, and I know it's been a long time since you've ate. But he had girls on his mind.
Yeah, that happens. Guards used to have that problem.
It didn't affect me with food, though. I wish it would have done that. That would have been helpful.
I was just about to say congratulations.
Yeah. They might have gone hand in hand.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's usually when the girls leave that the food doesn't taste good anymore.
Yeah, I've got some stories.
Well, go ahead. We got time.
No, I'm good. We're good.
So it's only day one.
Yeah.
So you see Hank here. He's going to start this snake back in the tub. The nice thing about Chubbs, he's extremely lazy. He just doesn't care what we do. If we were to bring one of our reticulated pythons, especially like our 20-footer over.
Not as affable?
Once you give her this tub for a place to hide, zoop, she's going away.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you guys in the crowd, if you guys want to come up and pet Chubbs, feel free. Just don't touch his tail. His tail's real sensitive. And here's one really important thing that Hank has taught me. If Hank gets bit, it won't hurt us at all.
That's it.
So
right.
This is a really important thing to learn.
You did learn that much from Monty, that's for sure. Yeah. Let Hank let the other person get injured or
absolutely
bit. Right.
Should I hold the camera so Zach can pet Hank?
Zach, do you want to pet Hank?
Yeah, I think you should pet Hank.
Come on, man.
I think people would like to see that.
Be a team player, would you?
I guess not.
And Chubbs weighs
about 200 pounds.
About 200 pounds, okay.
So, and when Chubbs does eat, it's real easy for Chubbs to eat 20 to 40 pounds at a time. So it might be 2 or 3 big rabbits. It might be a 20 to 40 pound pig. Anything like that, And that, on average, we're feeding him 4 to maybe 6 times a year, but usually 4 or 5 times a year typically.
That's enough, huh?
Yep.
That's all it takes.
But that's the great thing about them. Like, now when they're young and they're growing, their whole mindset is, I need to get big. Yeah. I need to protect myself.
So when you had them both out, like the tortoise, and they're not going to ever bother each other.
No.
They're just there. They don't have anything in common. They're not looking for, so they could coexist pretty easily and around the same area.
Now, if we had one of our iguanas here and we'll have them out and you pull a big snake out,
right,
you can tell right away they're looking at that snake and they're like, if he comes here, I'm gone.
Really?
Like that's a predator.
I don't want him
to do
yeah.
with it.
All right.
But that tortoise, they are the kings of I don't care.
Don't care. That's what a great attitude, huh, Garzi? I wish I had more of that tortoise mentality.
Yeah, like your Chicago drivers. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah,
that's just going to do what I want when I want.
Very, very true.
You watch out for me.
So, but
never too late to learn from Chubbs.
No, that's true.
Take something from Chubb's life here.
Yep, just slowly crawl into your tub and curl up and hide.
So the biggest python you got at your location is how much bigger than this baby?
So Chubbs is almost 17 feet, so we're strong 3 feet bigger than this one.
3 feet bigger?
Yeah.
Okay. And how much more weight?
So that one is a reticulated python, so they're not as thick. So weight-wise, they're very similar.
Okay.
Chubbs is a little chunky. They're real thick. The Burmese
Are any of them cranky? Any pythons?
They have their days.
Okay.
I mean, we'll be loading up for a school talk, and you kind of have this plan in your head.
Right.
Like, okay, we're going to take you, you, and you. And you go to grab your big snake for the day because this one hasn't worked for a while. And you're like, nope, we're not taking you. You're not in the mood. We're going to grab somebody else. Because, I mean, Chubbs is great. It's as close to bulletproof as we can get. But let's be honest.
Yeah. Well,
it's an 18 or 17 foot. Look at me. I'm already like Monty. It's growing as we speak.
Yeah, in the last 5 minutes.
So proud.
But it's a live snake. So Hank is actually paying more attention to the snake than the people. Because that snake is going to tell you, like, when it's had enough.
Well, Hank can read the snake, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like when you come home and your dog meets you at the door.
Right.
You know if your dog got into some garbage or did something wrong just by the way it meets you.
Yeah.
Where the snake, it's more Minnesotan. It's more of an introvert, so you got to pay closer attention. But it'll tell you what kind of mood it's in.
Meanwhile, I think the tortoise is leaving.
He's out of here.
I'm out of here. I don't need to mess with any of this nonsense.
As long as it keeps going in that direction, which is over by the DNR fish ponds.
Let's say as an experiment, you brought everything back, but you left the tortoise. Just I'll just see how it goes tonight. I mean, overnight, what would happen to the tortoise? Nothing.
No,
it would just
keep cruising around.
mosey around, not be bothered by anything, probably.
Yeah, probably go over. Maybe Sweet Martha's, grab some cookies, some cheese curds.
If that animal ran into like a double wide stroller, who wins? It's pretty strong, right?
Yeah. If your Honda Civic
your money's
hits
on
that
the
tortoise going down the road, your Honda Civic's going to look like it was in Fast and Furious and get flipped over.
I believe that.
Now, it might scratch up the tortoise a little bit, which obviously I'm going to be angry about.
Yeah, you're not going to be pleased about
your
that.
Civic is a goner, though.
Yeah, understandably so.
And that's going to be a real fun one to call your insurance agent up and be like, I hit a rock that was walking across the road.
That wouldn't work very well. So what else you want to remind people of that you got over there at Monty's Traveling Reptile Show, your location, where you've finally acknowledged you've upped the price, still very reasonable, $5.
Yep.
What else are we going to see? What else are they going to see?
Well, you got over 40 reptiles from, there's one pool and a couple shelves. There's over 9 of these. There's 9 of these big snakes. When you first walk in.
I didn't know we had another thing. Oh, this is more than a thing, actually.
So this little thing that you're also going to see, we have 2 alligators, and we still call them small alligators.
He doesn't look happy. I'm going to be honest with you at all.
As Chubbs.
So he does not look at him. He's not happy.
This is Archer. Archer's 13 years old.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever been around 13-year-old boys, but they will throw their tantrum, especially when you're asked to do some work.
14-year-old girls, too, but that's another story.
So, and alligators are very smart. So when you first get him out, he's going to have his tantrum. Basically, he's asking who's in charge. Once he finds out Hank's in charge, then you just get this relaxed, like, oh, okay.
Oh, he's not going to fight it.
No.
It looked like he was fighting it earlier.
And he'll keep asking from time to time.
Yeah.
But so it's absolutely amazing. At home, they're just pricks. It's like, what is wrong with you? Why won't you understand this? You put them in a box and you go to school and you get them out for the school talk and all the kids get to pet them and they're just angels. And it's like, you got this. You got it figured out. You got it made. And as soon as you get home, and then it's just back to like, I'm going to act big and tough. And, it's like your kids, they go and they spend the day with somebody else.
Yep.
And the other parents are like, oh,
they're welcome
little
anytime.
Donnie was just an angel, best kid ever, picked up dishes, asked, how can I help? And you're looking at him like, no. What about my kid, though? Like, was my kid good? Like, no, it was just great. Which I guess you'd rather have your kid act great for everybody else and then be themselves at home. The alligators are the same way.
Is Archer, is that what you said? Archie?
Yep.
Archer.
So the Archer and Bentley.
So Archer, if there wasn't something wrapped around his snout, his mouth, would he be like going after? I mean,
his mouth
bite?
would be open just because.
Right, but he wouldn't necessarily be ready to chomp down on one little kid's finger.
Yeah. So if you look at the side of an alligator's mouth, they got all these little black dots.
Yeah.
Should Zach get closer, do you think?
Yeah.
Come on, Zach.
For
KFAN.com/watch. Yeah.
So
not the camera, you.
Just get in there.
Don't lean in. You need to be on balance.
Yeah.
Get a good base. There you go.
So all those little black dots are like pressure sensors. So if anything touches that, it's a reflex for them to bite at that.
Oh.
So it's not that Archer's going to go after everything. It's just more somebody comes up and accidentally touches the side of his mouth. We really don't want to do that. And little gators are not on the top of our list.
Yeah.
There's a few people. We have a list of people where it's like, okay, we'll pull the tape off for you. Let's see what happens. You're not on it. You're safe.
Thank God.
But anyway, no idea what we were talking about, but he's not going to try and bite everyone. It's just more protection.
Reflex.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of. Well, yeah, but it still would hurt, I would think. If he chomped down, it would still hurt.
And when they're young, it's just like puppy teeth. The teeth are very
Oh,
sharp.
okay.
Because when they get big, they have
You want to
so
experiment?
much
You want to
force.
find out?
Not particularly.
How old is this one? Is Archer?
13.
13 years. Well, you're making it up again, aren't you?
This one I actually
You actually know. Okay.
For years, I thought I knew. And then
Right.
you know how Facebook likes to throw this thing up?
Yes.
Like 10 years ago. So I'd be like, well, I don't think he's 8 if 10 years ago we had this picture. So we kind of had to readjust
We
it.
have to readjust the numbers a little bit.
It's that math on the other side of the river.
So if you just let him loose, let him down, he would scurry everywhere. You couldn't do
Yeah,
that.
he'll probably go find a spot to hide under that bleachers.
Under the bleachers, okay.
So these guys, they'll act how they act. And one time we were in Luck, Wisconsin, and so I just had him down on the ground and just letting him kind of basically run around. We were outside, huge yard area, and then a whole stampede of second graders come out.
Ooh.
And that alligator looked at that, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to run right back to you. That's
sprinted out.
Like all of a sudden, you're the good guy. I know who you are. I'm going to hang out with you. First time this happened, I'm like, that's just dumb luck. The way the kids came out. Nope. Second time, same thing. He just came right back. He's like, I know who you are. You'll protect me. I'm good here.
2 dogs, ladies and gentlemen. How about a round of applause for his effort to bring these lovely animals to us each and every year. How was your business today? Did it get affected by the rain early? A little bit?
Today has been great.
Good first day overall?
I walked out the door at 7:30 this morning to deliver some stuff to the neighbors. Like the hot dog across from us, they had a 20-yard line. The pretzels, they had a 10-yard line.
Okay.
Like this was like the old days before COVID, where it's just like, what's going on?
That's
here?
good.
Like
That's
we
good.
got to get open. There's money out there.
That could be the start of a very good fair for you.
And the best part is the people have been great. It's as you get ready for the, you know how it is every year for the fair, you kind of dread it a little bit. It's a grind.
No question.
And you open up and you go and you get these families come through, and the way the kids come
You get
out, and
energized, don't you?
Yeah, they're so excited, and all of a sudden you're like, that's why we do this. This is so fun. I'm like, look how happy this kid is just because it got to pet a tortoise. Like the tortoise was in the far corner, and you tell mom, like, go ahead, set your kid in there with the tortoise. He can pet it. And she's like, really? I can do that? Like, yeah, absolutely. Just don't poke him in the face and pick his nose. You'll be
That's
fine.
the main thing. Yeah, just be sensible.
Yeah.
That's all you're asking.
And they have a great time. And we had one family, 3 generations. We always come here, and it's like we have to do this. The kids have
Tradition.
to see this.
That's it.
Like, how can you beat that?
That's the beauty of it. Thanks, my friend, as always. Great job.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thank you guys.
We'll pause here. Go visit Monty Creason's Traveling Reptile Show. You can't miss it. And still at probably as bargain basement and reasonable a price as anything here. Because as he said, the beauty of it is it doesn't have to be over in 30 seconds or a minute, whatever the case may be. You can saunter around, meander around, and look at a great cavalcade of animals.
And parents can send their kids in and get a little peace and quiet.
You don't mind that either, do you?
No. For an extra $5, we'll tell your kids you went the other way.
Thanks, Two Dogs.
You might get a whole afternoon to yourself.
We appreciate you, man. Let's take a pause. Kessler will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Are you going to do top 5?
I mean, we're kind of behind.
Yeah, we are a little behind.
And I think Kessler's here.
Oh, even better.
So we'll mix it up.
We'll figure it out. We're at the State Fair where the rainy weather has given way to a beautiful afternoon. Low humidity, which I, of course, love. Nice little breeze. And if we could get weather like this the rest of the fair, I think we will all very much enjoy the entire concept. Back from the state, the Great Minnesota Get-Together and the State Fair in a minute here on The Fan.
This is Bumper to Bumper live from the Minnesota State Fair on The Fan, presented by Mesh Besher and Spence.
KFAN Total Traffic.
From the Quick Trip Traffic Center, I'm Deb Snyder. Here's a look at the roads. We're still looking at a crash up on West 694 at McKnight. It's now on the right shoulder, though, with some slowing back from 40th. And eastbound is crowded with a gaper delay that runs back from 35E. Northbound.
Mesh Besher and Spence gets Minnesotans. Because as one of our state's oldest law firms, we've been fighting for our fellow Minnesotans for over 60 years. We know the ins and outs of Minnesota's legal system, and to never call it a casserole. We know how to get Minnesotans full and fair settlements, and that any food can be put on a stick. Mostly, we know how Minnesotans deserve to be treated. If you've been hurt in an accident, call Mesh Besher and Spence. Minnesota personal injury lawyers, Minnesotans trust.
See why.